Now tell me, when you look at this footage right here, what is it that you are feeling? Is it, and don't just tell me it's the anger in your heart because I'm using NES audio of Super Mario Bros. 3 with Super Nintendo footage, though that is a very valid point. That's just the audio I had. But I'm hoping what you're really feeling is the presence of Bowser here. Bowser used to be this really interesting and fun villain, He was intelligent, he was threatening, he was incredible. He really made a great villain in a lot of classic Mario games. Though I do have to say, Bowser's definitely changed since a lot of those classic Mario games. Whereas he used to be a threatening, dynamic villain, now he's kind of a static goofball who causes trouble occasionally in the Mushroom Kingdom. And you know what? There's been a lot of great games since these classic Mario games. New Super Mario Bros. Wii included. That was my childhood Mario game. So I do have to say this video pains me a bit because I love this game. But I do have to be honest and say I think Bowser's modern representation, it definitely cheapens newer Mario games for me. And I do have to say this does include Super Mario Bros. Wonder. While there was a lot of good with this game, I'll have to say Bowser was definitely not a highlight of this game. It wasn't a very impactful final boss. I don't know. It felt like we're going through the motions here. It wasn't that, it didn't feel like the finale this game needed or deserved. And while there have definitely been a lot of great Bowser boss fights over the years, I'm not saying his boss fights aren't good anymore. But I'm saying Bowser as a character, he's just not as interesting anymore. He's lost a lot of what made him unique in the classic games. Whether Bowser's just been oversimplified as a character, boiled down to basics, or Nintendo's just playing safe, and I know half the stuff I just said there was the same thing reworded differently. That's just me, I guess. I do have to say, Bowser was definitely a more interesting character in the classic days. Bowser's not as cool as he used to be. In the classic games, his appearances were very meaningful. We always learned something new about his character. Like in Super Mario Bros. 3, we learned that, that his character is fairly intelligent. He's able to trick Mario into leaving the Mushroom Kingdom so that he can kidnap the princess. In Super Mario 64, we learn that Bowser is kind of a bully. We really get to see a side of his personality we never saw before. And then in Super Mario Sunshine, we actually see a softer, kinder side of Bowser, because Bowser Jr. is his son. We get to see the side of Bowser we've never seen before. But in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, we didn't really learn anything interesting or new about Bowser, aside from the fact that he likes music, I guess, which I don't really think that's meaningful. So, Bowser has become more of a static character over the years, and that's alright. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But, looking at the classic games and seeing how Bowser used to be a very meaningful villain, I really want Nintendo to do one of two things. Either one, give Bowser a break. I'd be really happy to see villains like King Wart or Tatanga or Wario return, because Nintendo could easily do a lot with those characters to further develop them and make them meaningful in new games. Or two, they could really work hard to make Bowser's appearance meaningful in the next game, and this would be more difficult. Why? Because even if his appearance is meaningful, he was still like a static character in the last 5 or so games. It just, regardless of what you do with Bowser in the next game, that what happened in the previous 5 games is still going to rub off a little. It's still going to cheapen it a little. So I really think what they need to do is give Bowser a break for the next Mario game or two, and then make him return. Make Bowser cool again, you know what I mean? Because, when a character disappears from a series for a while, then when they reappear, there's a lot of build-up to that. It becomes a really cool moment. I feel like this is something that's been going on with King Wart. King Wart is a fan favorite Mario villain, and for years people have been wanting him to return, me included. In Super Mario Bros. Wonder, so many of us were theorizing that King Wart was going to return, and we were kind of disappointed to see that he didn't, and then it was just Bowser doing his thing again. Now let's say Nintendo went through with his plan. For the next Mario game or two, Bowser's not the main villain. Maybe King Wart returns, maybe there's a new Mario villain. regardless of what happens, Bowser's not in the next 2 Mario games as the villain. And then let's say, you know, those games great. We love the new perspectives we gain from new villains, but now people are wanting Bowser to come back. So we bring Bowser back. I do not want Bowser to just be. I don't want what makes his character interesting again to just be the fact that he returns. That's just boring. Nintendo has to make an effort to make Bowser different. Pick up the pieces where Mario Sunshine left off, or something like that. Show us something new about Bowser. Because, Bowser as a character is a character that should have depth. He was a character that did have a lot of depth. There are a lot of static characters in video games. From the beginning, Bowser was never meant to be one of those. Yeah, that is what he's become. And, maybe it's not fair to compare the modern version of Bowser to classic Bowser, but, classic Bowser is very impactful. I don't have nostalgia for the classic games. I grew up in the Wii era. I didn't play Mario 1, 2, 3, World, Yoshi's Island, 64, and Sunshine until, I was a little older. And that is when I realized, wow, Bowser in the new games is boring. Those are the games that really made Bowser a great villain. When a game impacts you like that, when a villain impacts you like that, it just enhances the whole entire game experience. Tell me, when you think of how great a lot of games were, I can guarantee one of the things you think of is the final boss fight, because that final interaction with, the villain is that final boss fight. It's very impactful. The point of that is to leave you with the satisfaction of, a journey well completed, or something like that. Now, some people might say my argument is a little dumb. Why? Because a lot of people believe Mario games are just for kids, an entryway into video games. But, as a Mario fan, I say that's kind of dumb. Because number one, anyone can enjoy a Mario game. But here's the other part. A lot of people think that because these games, are mainly marketed towards children, that, it doesn't matter if the games have depth, because kids don't notice things like that, or something like that. Some silly argument like that. And I'll tell you why that's wrong, because I've met lots of kids in elementary school, like 1st through 5th grade, who they've played Mario Wonder as their first Super Mario Bros. Game, then they played New Super Mario Bros. U, then they played Super Mario Odyssey, and within those 3 games alone, they'd tell me in their first Mario game they thought Bowser was a very, fun villain, but in the 2 games after that they played, they already felt that it was a bit, repetition-based, that they were just doing the same thing again. If kids in elementary school, a lot of these kids are my cousins, by the way, so shout out if you're watching this. If kids in elementary school say stuff like that, then I can guarantee to you it's important. Because kids notice things in games that adults never give them credit for. I think you're right. Nintendo probably is marketing Mario games towards children. But that doesn't mean that children don't deserve intelligent and, villains with depth in their games. I think that's a ridiculous argument. Regardless of what audience a game is for, they deserve a good product. They deserve, interesting characters and villains. They deserve good gameplay, all sorts of stuff. In this video, we're just focusing on, the characters themselves, specifically Bowser, specifically villains. And I do have to say that it's quite a ridiculous argument that just because a series is marketed towards children, that it doesn't need to have depth. That's just ridiculous. So what is it I want you to take away from this video? Well, it's this. Bowser, in the classic games, was really quite an amazing, interesting villain. And over the years, I think he's lost a lot of what made him special in those classic games. Not that his boss fights aren't good, but I think as a character, he's not as interesting. And I think a character with a legacy like Bowser really deserves, he really deserves a lot more than what he gets these days. And, I think part of this is due to the fact that Nintendo likes to play things safe. Yes, despite all their innovations in the past, they've slowly become this company that likes to play things safe. I mean, even with Super Mario Bros. Wonder, a lot of people like to argue that because it had all these crazy wonder effects that it didn't play any things safe. But if you really analyze Mario Wonder's design philosophy, its philosophy basically changes everything that it doesn't think is as important to a Mario experience. You know what I mean? A lot of the things that you would see in a more generic Mario game, like the new Super Mario Bros. Games, are still in Super Mario Bros. Wonder at full effect. And one of those things is Bowser. And I'm not saying Bowser I don't think we should get rid of him as a villain. I think he has a lot of potential to really become a great villain again. And here's my proposition to Nintendo. I think Nintendo, as a company, for some reason they feel like that if they let go of Bowser, they're going to lose sales or something. I think that's ridiculous, because no one buys a Mario game because Bowser's the villain. They buy it because it's a Mario game. But if you're really afraid to let go of Bowser for a few games, Nintendo, do this. Bring back King Bort, maybe, or do like a new villain, but make Bowser part of the main cast. Bowser's now on the same team as Mario. Maybe he's not a playable character, maybe he runs a shop, but he's still there. Nintendo, if you're afraid to let go of Bowser, you don't have to. You can still keep putting Bowser in your new games without making him the focus, without making him the main villain. He can still be there but be a side character if you're really afraid to let go of him. And I think this is Bowser becoming what he used to be. I don't think it's just something Nintendo should do, but I think it's something the fans really deserve, because I think Mario fans get this reputation for liking repetitive games, when the truth is, and you can chime in the comments too, I think Mario fans really like games that are creative, that are fun, that are innovative. It's just Mario these days has lost a lot of those things, and because of that, us as fans, we've gotten this reputation for liking games more like the new Super Mario Bros. Games, if you get what I mean. So I think Bowser doesn't only deserve this, but so do the fans. They really deserve, I think, a better Bowser. So that's it for this video. I do have to say something. I know I don't upload videos much anymore. That's because I'm in college, and it's very difficult. And I know there's definitely a few editing mistakes in this video, but with my tight time frame, this is the best I can do. And I'm sorry, but that's the best. That's the best you can get from me right now. I upload shorts weekly. Those are basically keeping the channel alive. But I appreciate your support. And you know what? If you disagree with me at any points of this video, I applaud you, because that is what this video is for. Is to create discussion on the internet about things like this, because who else is going to discuss this? Who else is going to get all philosophical about video games but us? It's our duty to discuss this. Go argue with me in the comments. Just make it a civil argument. No. I've had a lot of there's been a lot of people who've done nasty things on the internet. That's not what this place is gonna. This is a safe space where we can share opinions about games. And you know what? Maybe you can change my mind. Try to change my mind. I encourage you. Yeah, that's it for this video. DMG out. Goodbye.